Welcome to Betting with Benny and Tino here on the FTN Network at FTN Bets, sponsored by Bets TV. Let's get all the other stuff out of the way right here before we get into the fun show that we have here today. If you guys are looking to sign up for FTN Bets, FTN Daily, or FTN Fantasy, you can use promo code Benny and save 10% off on any one of our packages. We have a fun show here today. I am your host, Benny Ricciardi. We are going to be getting into the three things that are important on a Thursday. We're going to be talking about teasers since we're able to start playing them on some of the online books in New Jersey right now. We're going to talk about the super contest that Tino and I have an entry in, kind of break down who we're looking at this week, who we're going to talk about, and what teams we're going to wind up taking. A couple of them we agree on. Those are going to be easy. We gotta get to the last couple that we're not sure on, who our fourth and fifth plays are going to be there. So I said to him, what the hell? We might as well turn the mics on and talk about it on air and hash it all out. Then we'll make our plays there. And then we'll end the show by talking a little bit about Thursday Night Football here tonight. We'll talk about the game, talk about some prop plays that we like, and we'll go from there. So without further ado, let me introduce you guys to my producer, our producer extraordinaire over here at the FTN Network, Mr. Tino Rodriguez. What's going on, dude?
I'm doing great. Thursday. We just for the people at home to know, we started this the first time and Benny forgot it was Thursday, so we had to redo that. No, we know it's Thursday now. Week 1 of football is officially here, Benny, and I do love that you caution the people as well that this may go off the rails. Talking about gambling lines and deciding on 2 games we don't know about might take a lot longer and a lot harder than people would imagine. So we already tried to get on the same page on those. It's going to take some ironing out, but I'm excited about it, man. This will be fun. We spontaneously joined the super contest. I've never done it before. So a lot of firsts here, just to kind of let the people know we have to do 5 picks, like you said, all with this spread. We're not 100% sure here. We're trying to get an update on the lines. So we're going to go off the lines we have here on some of the other games. But we're going to do our best to try to play the lines that are there. If they're not up to date, just know we're going to have to play those lines anyways. So we will be talking about the lines that we're playing. And hopefully they're the same as the super contest and we come out on top.
Yeah, usually for those who don't know, the super contest is a contest that they have over at the Circa Sportsbook in Las Vegas. You have to physically be in Las Vegas to register for it. We have a friend who is in Las Vegas registering for us now. One of our other fellow producers, Tom, is going to be taking care of that for us. And then we're just going to feed him the picks and he's going to pop them in for us, every week when he goes to put in his own picks. The lines for the super contest usually come out on a Wednesday. I have not seen them yet. This is, we're on the East Coast. It's early Thursday morning. I'm sure they are out there, but, like I said, I have not seen them yet. I'll get them at some point today, but we're going to talk about the teams that we're going to pick one way or another. But before we get into that, Tino and I did a little podcast last year. And one of the things that I was very happy is that I taught him how to play teasers, and he will agree with that. And he will back that up as well. Not only did I teach him how to play them, but I also taught him why they're such good plays to make. And the one thing that we always do on Thursday, the books in New Jersey, usually around Wednesday or Thursday, is when they allow you to start playing teasers. You can't always put them in on a Monday or Tuesday at some of the online sports books. So today is the day that we're going to be putting them in. I actually already put mine in this morning, my main teaser for the week. So let's talk about some of the teams that we're going to tease. Let me ask you this, all right? I'm going to put you on the spot here, okay? So when we did this last year, right? We had a couple hard and fast rules for the teasers. Do you remember what they are? What are we trying to do here with the teasers? And I'll fill in the blanks.
I know rule number 1, and you don't cross the 0. I learned that one I'll always stick with. You don't cross the 0. Really? Okay, so here's what we're looking for. I mean, and now I know how to look at numbers. Ideally, you want to get either past the 3 or past the 7. Those are the key numbers.
Or preferably both if you can. That's the main thing is if you can get past both of them. And, we can throw up that chart. We have a little chart here with all the final margins of victory from last year, which Tino will throw up here, being the producer extraordinaire that he is. So you guys can take a look at that right now on the screen. And basically what you're going to see here is these are the margin of victories of all the games for the 2020 NFL season. And you'll see how many of them are clustered into that range of 3. And then even some of the numbers like 6 and 7 up there as well. The 4 is a little bit of a number that comes out a little more often than the average number does as well. And that's why with these teasers, we're looking to get through those numbers. So if you can find a number that is, plus 2.5 on a dog that you could tease up to 8.5, You're getting the 3, you're capturing the 3, you're capturing the 7. You're also capturing the 6 and the 8 there, meaning that if those are the final scores of the games and you tease that team up, that's going to be one that you win. And then on the other side, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to be looking for teams that are like, -8, -8.5 that we could tease. So we get through the 7, we get through the 3 on the other side, get it down to, 2.5 or something like that, or 2, where if the team wins by a field goal or if they win by a touchdown, those are now, again, numbers that we're capturing. So, we're going to be able to cash those bets and win those games. So those are basically what we're looking for. Those are kind of the rules that we go by with the teaser. So I'll throw it out there to you first, Tino, and then I'll throw in my stuff as well. There's a couple teams that fit the description of what we look for when we do our teasers today. So who are some of the ones that you're interested in?
So, this is going to go hand in hand kind of with my picks here, but there are 2 numbers out there, 2 teams that I really like, but if I'm going to play them, I think the best way to play them is probably a part of this teaser because they're sitting at that 7.5 mark, which now, again, another terminology thing, the hook isn't in favor of us there. If you're playing the favorite, we're at 7.5 here. I mean, you're not even getting the push. If they win by a touchdown, should be convincing enough. You're not even going to win and come out on top of that. So we'll start with the 49ers and the Rams, both sitting at 7.5 here. 2 favorites people are super high on out of the NFC West. You think they're going to win. San Francisco going against the Lions. You got the Rams at home going against the Bears. 2 teams you think they're going to beat up on. But as I talked to you about, as the games are getting closer, that Bears-Rams game, I feel like we're a little too confident on. I'm worried about a backdoor, even push, or now that it's 7.5, they're not going to cover because, they could be down 14 up into 2 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Andy Dalton decides to be the red rifle that he is, score a touchdown, they win by 7, and we lose that bet. So I'm worried about it. I don't know if we're going to get that into where we're going with the super contest, but I will have them in my teaser. So right now, what I'm looking at in my 4-team teaser, we have the 49ers going down to 1.5. We're going Rams down to 1.5 as well. And then we'll get a little Thursday night action. I probably should have led with this, but I wanted to get this in there as well. Here's another good example. Odd number out there. I don't know how I'm going to play this yet, and we'll get to the Thursday night stuff tonight. But the 8.5, the 8 have been sitting there all week, all month. It's just been a number that I don't love. And I think what makes me love it more is bringing the 8.5 down to 2.5. We're covered by the field goal. Again, I think today everyone feels confident the Bucs are going to win. I think the public's sitting on the Bucs, which deservingly so. Defending Super Bowl champs, they're going to be at home, all that good stuff. But 8.5 is 8.5. Not a great number to play. So we bring that down to 2.5. I like them to at least win by a field goal there. And then my last team. Now, for the people at home, I made this last night and had 5 teams in this, but all of them didn't abide by the rules. So in order to stick to script here, I'm only going to go one more team here. It's going to be a 4-team teaser at about 2.5 to 1 here. You get 2.5 on your money, but we're going to throw in the Colts, and that's at they're getting 2.5 points at home against the Seattle Seahawks. That is a game you talked about. We're right under that 3. But when you get the 6 to it, we're going to get up to the 8.5. So now when you're minus 8.5, you don't love it. But if we're getting 8.5 points, we kind of like that. We're getting the touchdown coverage. So my 4 legs here, we're going to get the Colts to 8.5. We'll bring the Rams, Niners, and Bucks down to 1.5 for Rams and Niners. And then for the Bucks, 2.5.
Dude, I feel like a proud dad right now because I love everything you said, and I love the fact that you're doing this right now and you understand the way it goes. So I'm going to throw in a little bit of a twist here on, what you said and basically kind of give the way that I'm going about doing this here. I don't go usually more than 2 teams. I usually only go with the 2-team teaser. And what I do is I try to narrow down. I'll get a list, and my list is basically the list that Tino had talked about here. I'm going to get 4 or 5 teams that I think are potential, and then I'm going to kind of narrow it down to the 2 that I like the best. I think sportsbooks are a little worried about the Tampa Bay game tonight. That game opened at 6.5. It's up to 8.5 right now. And I agree with you. I don't want to take the 8.5 number. I do have, I think 8 or 8.25 is my number on this game here. So I agree with the move. I think it went to where it should be. I think it's at where it should be at right now, but I don't want to play it at the 8.5. So for me, and we'll talk about this later when we talk about our Thursday night games, I think the best way to play the Thursday night game tonight is to tease it down to 2.5. You get it through the 7, you get it through the 3. Tampa Bay only has to win by 2.5. We get a Tampa Bay win by a field goal or more. We're going to cash that, and we're going to be going into the weekend just looking for the other, whatever the other bets that we put in there with them happen to be. Now let's talk about some of the other ones. Let's start with the 2 7.5-point ones, right? Like normally you like the home team in this situation. So like the Rams are a home team at 7.5. But if you guys watched my video the other day on where my lines are, I made the line in that Rams game only about 4.75 is what my numbers had. So I didn't think it should be up there all the way up at 7.5. So even if you tease that down to 1.5, I don't really love that much. So, we'll talk about that. I'm actually on the Bears getting the plus 7.5 this week. That's the side of that game I wanted to be on. And when I'm on that side of the game, I know it's, you get the 6 points. And if it was Rams minus 1.5, I think everybody in the world would want to be on it and all that. But I'm a little concerned about that game. So whenever I have a concern about a game, if there's a better game to play, I'm going to avoid it. So I'm avoiding that Rams and Chicago Bears game on my teaser here. I don't mind the Indianapolis game. And again, this is another one that fits the description of what we look at with the teasers, right? They are a home dog. They're at 2.5 right now. You tease it up to 8.5. You're capturing the 3, you're capturing the 4, you're capturing the 6, you're capturing the 7, you're capturing the 8. You get it all the way up to 8.5. So we don't even need them to win. We need them to not lose by more than 8.5 there, which is not a bad play here. I'm not knocking that one either. But like I said, I usually play one big 2-team teaser every week. And for me, the team that just makes the most sense is San Francisco, right? Like nobody likes Detroit. Detroit's offense is led by Jared Goff, who's somebody that nobody really has any faith in here. He's on a new team. They're running a new system. They're doing all that. The defense is not good. And San Francisco this year is healthy. And that's really what it comes down to. It's not that San Francisco was a bad team last year. Some of you guys will remember this. I remember it because I'm a Jets fan. They played the Jets they played the Giants, and then they played the Jets the next week. And the Meadowlands turf, or whatever they call it now, MetLife Stadium turf, was so bad that like 4 or 5 guys on San Francisco wound up getting injuries. And they were like significant injuries, including a bunch of the guys on that vaunted defense that they had. That was the reason why people were so scared.
They were significant injuries to significant players. It was like Sherman, Bosa, I think Solomon Thomas.
It was literally like right after each other, too. It was like one right after another. I mean, they went into that game as Super Bowl contenders and left that game as a team that everybody was like, Jesus Christ, how are they even going to go 500 the rest of the year when you take all these, stud first round, all pro, defensive players that they had off that team? Well, all those guys are back now. So, you're back to the San Francisco team that people were picking to go to the Super Bowl or make a deep run into the playoffs right now. 7.5 on the road is a number I don't really want to take because, like you said, we lose. If it's a touchdown, if they're up 14 and they're playing prevent defense at the end, and Jared Goff throws one, Tyrell Williams goes up there and makes a play. Now all of a sudden we get backdoored, and it's not something I like. So I still like that game. We'll probably talk about that for the Super Contest too, because I think that's one of the ones that we were both kind of high on. But if you could tease that down to 1.5, I love it. I mean, so that's really the way I'm going. So for me, my teaser this week, my big teaser this week, I'm going Tampa Bay, teasing them down to 2.5, getting through the 3-7. And then I'm going with the San Francisco 49ers, teasing them from 7.5 down to 1.5, getting through the 3-7 there. That's going to be my big teaser play for the week. Tino likes to hit these home runs. I'll just go and take the easy money, and I'll do that all season long. Just take the easy money, and then at the end of the year, I'll have a nice little bankroll to do whatever I want to do with there. So that's the way that I'm looking at these teasers here today. One thing I do want to throw in here as well. Again, Tino and I both live in New Jersey. In New Jersey, you really have to look at the sports book that you're playing your teasers on, because there's 2 separate ways that the books are pricing these teasers. If you go on to FanDuel prices it as if you were parlaying the alternate lines. So what I mean by that is if you go into the FanDuel Sportsbook, there's obviously the line on the game. The line is usually somewhere around like the -110, -115, -120 maybe. But then they also have a alternate line where instead of taking Tampa Bay by 8.5, you could get Tampa Bay at 6.5 if you wanted to get what the opening line was. But you're going to pay more juice on it. You're not getting that at -110. It might be, I forget what the number is. I'm going to say somewhere around like -150 or something right now. If you teased it all the way down to 2.5, that number is probably, I don't know, -190, -200, somewhere around there. The way that FanDuel prices their teasers is they take whatever that alternate line would be, and they multiply it by whatever the other game you put into that alternate line. So if you try to play this Tampa Bay San Francisco teaser on FanDuel, I think the number that it spit out to me was something like minus 134 on a payout or minus 135. Now, back in the day, you used to get minus 110 on teasers, and then it kind of went up to like minus 120. On the online books, minus 120 is kind of the best you can get and what you're usually looking for right now. DraftKings has a standard minus 120 on their 6-point teasers. So you could tease anything and you're going to get it at minus 120. So if you're going to play these teasers like I'm going to be, DraftKings is actually the book that I'm playing it on here today, because if you go to DraftKings, you can get this Tampa Bay San Francisco teaser at minus 120, whereas if you try to play it on FanDuel, it's minus 130. Some of the other sites didn't even have their teasers up. Some of them may not even offer teasers. I'm not, I was waiting to see if I could get better than a minus 120 somewhere, but I think that's going to wind up being the best number there. So remember, if you're in Jersey or even if you're in any of these other states, you want to look at the payout on the teaser and you want to look at all the different books that you have available to bet it on, because the way that certain books price it is going to be different. And like I said, it might not sound like a lot, but at minus 120, you're getting paid like 83, 84 cents on the dollar. At minus 134, minus 135, you're getting paid like 70 something cents on the dollar, which again, doesn't sound like a lot, but if we're going to be making these bets 17, 18 weeks of the season now, we got an extra week. So, if we're going to be doing this 18 weeks in a row here and you're giving up, a dime or 20 cents each time that you're doing it, that's going to add up over time. And then again, especially the bigger that you play, if you're putting in, a $500 teaser here, you're talking about giving up, a couple bucks every time you hit one of these at the end of the day. If you can get the better number on it, you're going to wind up with a bigger profit at the end of the year. So make sure you look at what the payoffs are there. That's the way that I'm going about it today, Tampa Bay and San Francisco.
So 2 things, Benny. I do want to note here, it's a nice balance. That's the beautiful thing about this show. I'm the home run hitter and you're the singles guy, and that's fine. If we were together on a baseball team, that's a winning recipe. You need a home run guy.
Derek Jeter got into the Hall of Fame yesterday by getting on base every time he got up. So that's kind of the way I look at it. I'm trying to have that 20-year career, bang Hannah Davis, and wind up being a legend in 2 games like he is. So that's the way to go about doing it there. And like you said, it is a balance. I mean, listen, I do this. I look at my bankroll as my job is to have more money in my account at the end of the season than I start the season with.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be the guy that posts a screenshot of the $5,000 winning 4-team parlay, because the people who do that don't show you the 500 times they lost trying to make that $5,000 parlay work. I'm more of a straight bet guy. I don't even really play parlays outside of the teasers. You won't usually see me with 2 or 3 teams together. I usually just try to beat the game straight up. Try to find a game that I think is the line is wrong. I'll take the money on there, offsets of maybe a loss that I have somewhere else. And, like I said, at the end of the year, I'm going to wind up with a little profit, and a little profit means that I have some extra money in my pocket than I started with. And I had the fun of gambling and watching games all season long, which is really what I like to do there. So that's the way we're going about it. All right.
Also, we're going to transition, but it's also a dead giveaway that we're from Jersey, that you're wearing a black tee, I'm wearing a white tee, and we both have shades on our necks. But we can continue now. It's just like, if they looked at this show and were like, are these guys not, like, if they didn't know we're from Jersey by the beginning of the show, I think, come on, guys. Come on.
I mean, listen,
Read the room.
I just ate a tail ham and cheese sandwich for breakfast too, so you can't get more Jersey than that right there.
We're just like sitting red here. We are New Jersey. I basically look like this state. But yeah, let's transition. You're right.
All right. So the next thing I want to talk about, and this is important for us here, is our super contest entries, right? So for those of you who don't know, there's a lot of handicapping contests like this. There's one at Circa. There's one at the Westgate. Those are the 2 big ones out in Las Vegas. DraftKings has one. If anybody's in New Jersey or even in some of the other states that DraftKings is live in right now, I think you're allowed to get in. DraftKings has one that's like a $1,500 entry with like $1 million prize pool. The super contest is the one that we're going to talk about that we're in. That's over at Circa, and that's a $4 million prize pool. I think currently there are like 3,500-ish entries right there. So still a little bit of overlay, but you still have today to get it in, and tomorrow too. I think you have up till Saturday to get it in. So you're going to have some people that are going to be, putting in some late entries for that and, kind of getting into there. So they'll probably get up to the 4,000, which will, even out the prize pool at $1,000 entry. You get 4,000 people. That's the $4 million. There's a big prize at the end. I think it's $1 million. And then there's a bunch of little prizes along the way. It's not monthly like it was last year. I think it's broken down into a bunch of like 3 and 6 week kind of, things this year, where if you win your 3-week kind of contest, smaller contest inside, or the 6-week contest inside there, you get a big prize as well, which would be pretty cool. Take like $50,000, $100,000, something like that. I forget what the exact payouts are. But this is like the Super Bowl of handicapping there. If you want to, kind of make a name for yourself in the sports betting world, these are the kind of contests that you need to get in and you need to win. And, it's a lot of money, which is always nice. And it's also going to be some, some good prestige here. So let's talk about the games that we agree on here. We have 3 games. Basically what we did is we both picked the games that we wanted. The games that we both agreed on are ones that we're definitely going to put on our ticket. The ones that we don't agree on, those are the ones we're going to talk about here. So let's talk about the 3 we agree on. We both agree on Washington Redskins, or the Washington football team, against the Los Angeles Rams. That game, I thought Washington should have been favored. The Rams were favored earlier in the week. Circa
Chargers.
Sorry about that. The Chargers. Yeah, the Chargers. The 2 LA teams. I'm still getting used to this. I still call the Redskins the Redskins. So,
The Chargers shouldn't be in LA anyways, and the Washington football team should have a name. So a game that makes no sense on both ends. Perfect. That's why it's a push. It's a pick 'em.
So that is the one that we like. Circa is actually the one book that has Washington -1, but I don't even care if we have to take the -1 on it. I think the Redskins are the better team here. I think the Redskins win this game. That defense is nasty, and people are not giving it as much credit as they need. And you know what? The offense is good enough. They have a couple good players. They have a good running back. They have a good wide receiver. Again, whether or not you like Fitz, he is a guy who has won a lot of games over a lot of seasons. So Washington, easy one for us. Another easy one that you and I both like is the Kansas City Chiefs. And we talked about this a lot last year. The Chiefs were not a team that covered often last year. They won, but they were not a very good team against the spread. But that was because by the end of the season or the middle of the season, those spreads were 10, 12, 13, 14. Yeah. So a lot of times they were winning by a touchdown or 2 touchdowns and they got backdoored, or they had, if it was a close game, Mahomes was going to come in at the end of the game. So we kind of had this thing last year, right, where whenever Kansas City is below a touchdown, that's when we wanted to take them. And that's kind of what we got here today, right? Was that kind of your thought process on that one?
Yeah, I mean, all day. I told you as soon as we got here, I was like, this is under 6. I didn't know it was under 6. I thought I saw it higher. The money must have came in on the Browns possibly here, because I didn't see it at 5.5, I think, earlier this week or this month. But besides, no.
Is it 5.5 right now?
At DraftKings, it's 5.5.
It's been 6 most of the week. Some places even had it at 6.5. If it's 5.5, I mean, again, those are kind of dead numbers, right? They're in that dead zone. It doesn't matter. But either way, I mean, my number on this game was Kansas City 8.5. So as long as I'm capturing the 7 and I'm on that side of it, that's the side of the game I want to be on. So we agree that that's the second pick we're making, right?
Yeah. So DraftKings this morning had it at 5.5. That's when I try to get these as updated as possible before we got on the show. Yeah. Again, this is going to be a part of the Circa pick'em though, so we don't know what their number is. So it's probably going to be more in the 6 range. Either way, still, let's just call it a touchdown under the 7. We're going to bet it, because I even remember last year we were getting a lot of 10.5s, and it was such a no man's land. We couldn't even tease them. Because you bring it down, you have 4.5, and it's like, I don't really love that either in some of these closer games you could see that they're going to be closer games. So yeah, but anything under a touchdown for the Chiefs. I mean, my joke was, I don't know the next time we'll be able to bet them. So
yeah, no, you were absolutely right when you said that too. Is I don't know the next time we're going to see the Chiefs under 7. It's going to be when they play some of the other top teams in the league. But yeah, when we can get them under a touchdown, we want them. That one is definitely going to be on our card too. So that's 2. And then the third one that we both had on our card, although we both had a little bit of reservation because of the 7.5 number, is the San Francisco 49ers against the Detroit Lions. We kind of mentioned this already. Detroit is just not a good team. San Francisco has all their guys back. They are a good team when they're healthy, and this year they're healthy. So those are the 3 we agree on, right? Those are the 3 that we want to move through.
Yes,
all right,
sir.
So the next one that I'm going to put up, I said we could, because we were talking about this before we came on air, and I said, dude, why don't we just shut up right now and we'll talk about this on air, because it'll be good for the people to kind of see how we go through this as well and what we're looking at here. So the one that I want to throw out there that I want to consider is the Tennessee Titans against the Arizona Cardinals. Now, again, I don't know the Circa number, but even if it's 3, I'm okay with it. If it's 2.5, though, I absolutely love it if we're getting under the field goal in that game. Tennessee's offense is just absolutely ridiculous, right? And they play at a high pace. And people think Arizona plays at a high pace, but they actually don't. The air raid offense, they're going to throw the ball all over the place. Arizona was not a super fast team last year. So I do think this game is going to be kind of high scoring, but I think it's going to be kind of high scoring because I think Tennessee is going to be able to score on that Arizona defense. And then Arizona is going to have to play a little speed up and kind of throw it a little more to get in there. I like Kyler Murray. I think he's a good quarterback. I think he's I think he's got some upside. They got some really nice receivers, some really nice pieces on that team. But with that being said, Tennessee's at home here. It's only a field goal. I like Tennessee. That's a team that I picked to make the playoffs, win their division this year. So for me, the fourth team I'm looking to put on here is Tennessee. You got any beef with that, or is that another one we can add?
No, so I don't. Yeah, you had mentioned it to me right before we got on here, and I told you honestly I didn't really check the game out, but when I break it down, I think the Titans kind of flew under the radar. Although people like them, they kind of had the whole COVID situation recently. Tannehill was kind of dealing with COVID, so people kind of forgot about them heading into this season. And then the Colts are getting healthier, so now we kind of have the two-team race in that division again. So they had hype once they signed Julio. Now I think it's dying out a little bit. But in terms of this matchup, the Arizona Cardinals defense, secondary in particular, everyone's very happy that they signed J.J. Watt, which is great. But this is not J.J. Watt from 2013, 2014. This is J.J. Watt in 2021. So that's a nice signing. The defensive line should be better, should be more improved. But their secondary is not good at all. So I said, who's stopping A.J. Brown, let alone Julio Jones, let alone most of the other guys that they got going on this offense? I mean, I'm not the biggest Ferkser guy, but the guy's capable out of the tight end position. I don't love their linebacker situation in Arizona either. I know they have Isaiah Simmons. He's someone who's been up and down. He could cover, showed flashes, but point being, I don't buy this Cardinals defense. I don't buy the Titans defense either. If we want to tie this together to what we said, I do love the over in this game. But at the same time, I like this Titans offense more than this Cardinals situation. I like the Cardinals offense as well, but I think what the Titans have going on at home makes way more sense in this game, especially with the line at 3. I think it's going to be a touchdown game. So I don't think the 3 in this one really matters too much. I think at the worst, you'll probably see a 4 and we cover by a point because it'll be a touchdown, field goal, some. I think it'll be one of those situations, but I don't mind the 3 at all. So yeah, we're on the Titans for sure.
All right, so that's 4. So now we got to move on to figure out the 5th game. And one that I know you liked was the Rams. And like I said, we talked about this a little bit at the beginning of the show. I'm more on the Chicago side of that game at 7.5. And it's not that I don't think the Rams win. I do think the Rams win. I just don't think the Rams cover 7.5. Chicago is a very good defense. Like I said, I think they're improved on offense just because of the fact that Mitch Trubisky's not their quarterback this year. So I don't expect them to beat the Rams, but I also think the Rams are that team that everybody's just like, the Rams are like the darling team. They're like the Cleveland Browns a couple years ago when
they're the 49ers. They're the 49ers when they got Jimmy G. They're the same thing.
Yes.
Everyone was in love with the 49ers. Yeah. Everyone's dark horse, even though it wasn't a dark horse.
And because of that, I think that they're a couple points overvalued. And that's the way I look at it here. So like I said, I'm on the Chicago side. I know you were on the Rams side of that game. So that one is going to be out because we can't agree on it. And that's a good thing. We don't have to pick every game here. So if we don't agree on one, we'll just pass on it and, look for something else that we can.
I'll bring us to what I think is probably going to be your 5th pick. And I think we can get on the same page on it. I'll try to sell this because while we've been going through this, I'm trying to look at the numbers because when I look at this matchup, again, I want to caution it that I wish I liked this more because of certain natural situations. They're not actually home. But this Saints-Bucks game, if the Saints were home, I'd be all over this immediately. I still love where the number is, but I just love the Saints at home more. But now I'm looking at the numbers and I'm breaking it down. And I mean, these teams were about dead even in everything. Defensively, against the pass, against the run, in terms of rushing offense. And honestly, the Packers' passing attack was better last year, obviously with an MVP and Aaron Rodgers. But Drew Brees was holding the Saints back in terms of the passing game. They're going to be able to air the ball out more here with Jameis Winston. I do think both of these secondaries look a lot better than they actually are. So I do expect some points in this game. We'll just fast forward here. We have it at 3.5. I've seen this higher. I've seen this kind of nowhere beyond 3.5. If we're getting the hook, I feel great. If this gets to 3, whatever. But if we're getting this hook, I mean, this makes a lot of sense to me because looking at that, you see these teams dead even. The Saints are supposed to be the home team. I know they're not, but with all that said, I feel like this is a field goal game. Like maybe it's a late touchdown from the Packers. They decide to do what they did in the postseason game against the Bucs and go for it on 4th down in the red zone or something like that. But I think if everything lines up the way it should, us getting the hook with the home team on a 3.5 makes a lot of sense to me. I feel really good about that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when I did the video at the beginning of the week, I said I didn't hear anything yet. I wasn't sure if the game was going to be in New Orleans. With the home field advantage, I had this spread down under 1.5 for Green Bay is what it should have been. And at the time, it was plus 4.5 for the Saints, right? So, we were getting a lot of value there. without it being home, I would have this just under a field goal here. And, again, if we're getting the hook with the 3.5, I don't hate this. And one of the reasons why I'm on board with this too, I think this is going to be our fifth play. We're going to take the New Orleans Saints this week as our fifth team that we're picking, is because I want to kind of avoid a lot of these rookie quarterbacks, right? So I don't want to play the Miami New England game because I don't really know what to expect from Mac Jones. I don't want to play the Jets and the Carolina game because maybe Zach Wilson is the man that Jet fans like myself are hoping he is, but maybe he's not, and I don't really know. So I want to see some of these guys and some of these teams first before but it's Jacksonville, the same thing. We talked about, Trevor Lawrence and Jacksonville and how they're going to go. Until I get a chance to see some of these guys play an NFL football game at NFL speed and, with the lights on and all that stuff, because preseason is not the same as regular season. We all know that. I don't really want to touch these games in the first week of the Super Contest here. So I'm good with New Orleans as our fifth team. I'm actually going to write that down right now. Assuming that we're getting at least 3.5, I think Green Bay I am fine with on the 15. You good with that?
Yeah, I am totally fine with it. I also want to say, no one rips Jameis Winston more than me, at least when he was in Tampa Bay, because the man couldn't see. No one talks about him having LASIK surgery. I am excited to see him out there, former number 1 overall pick. Dude, he's exciting to watch. Love him or hate him, he's exciting to watch. He's going to put points on the board for his team or the other team. It's probably going to be a pick 6 or it's going to be 6 the other way. So, I mean, I think this is going to be one of the better matchups, in week 1. I mean, these are two teams that are playoff teams. So, I think everyone's kind of writing off the Saints. And, again, Jameis Winston may be a better fantasy quarterback than a real life quarterback. But in terms of week 1, I think we're going to see some fireworks here. So I think the Saints can hang around. So I'm excited to see this matchup just as a whole, not even from a betting perspective.
All right, so there you go. Just to recap, guys, the 5 teams we're picking in the Super Contest this week, we're going with the Washington football team, the Kansas City Chiefs, the San Francisco 49ers, the Tennessee Titans, and the New Orleans Saints. So those are going to be our 5. We will lock those in, assuming that the lines are around where we thought they were. We'll lock those in for Saturday, and we'll see how they do. We'll talk about them next week. We'll figure out where we went right, where we went wrong, and get into who we're picking for week 2. All right, so the last thing on our agenda today, while we still have the camera on here, I don't want to take too much time up here. Let's just go through Thursday Night Football real quick. The defending champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting the Dallas Cowboys with Dak Prescott back under center after, the injury that he suffered in the Giants game, if I'm not mistaken, about week 5 last year. The first 4 weeks of that season, Dak was on basically MVP pace. This is a guy who threw for over 450 yards in 3 of the first 4 games last year. I think he had 9 touchdowns when he got hurt. He was averaging 370-something yards per game passing. Again, he threw the ball quite a bit. The Dallas defense sucked, so he had to throw the ball quite a bit because those were games that were high scoring, and he had to keep his team in there. But this is a pretty explosive offense. They have a lot of skill position players that are very good. But Tampa Bay won the Super Bowl last year. They have all 22 starters back. They have like 30 of their main guys who were, the big parts of that team, even some of the guys who didn't start but still played a lot of time. Those guys are all back too. They made some small minor adjustments to improve on some places where they had some little holes there. And again, we talked about it. This started at 6.5. It is all the way up to 8.5 now. I made the line 8.25. I agree with the move right here. Do I still want to bet it at 8.5? No, I'm not playing this game straight up at 8.5 at all. Like I said earlier in the show, the way that I think this game should be played is by teasing it down. Do you have anything on the total or on the sides for this game?
So I have something in terms of props. I don't have totals yet. Like I said, I've been staring at this game. I think it's going to be a game time decision on what I really like. I think I'm waiting for warm-ups. I think the line's moving on something we talk about in terms of gambling lines. Quarterbacks tend to move the line. I think uncertainty around Dak and the certainty on this Bucs defense definitely contribute to that. I mean, people definitely like what they're seeing on the Bucs side. I think for some reason, everyone just realized how good the Bucs D was. Little did they realize that the Bucs D is the reason they made it to the postseason last year. But I digress. Yeah. Here's what I'm looking at in terms of the Bucs offense. There are a few things. I'm, for some reason, all aboard the Antonio Brown train this year. This happened over the last week.
Everybody is on this train.
I don't know why. It's starting to worry me, but I don't love Mike Evans or Godwin for first touchdown. So something I've talked about, I'm between 2 guys. So it's really 3 guys. I love me some quarterback first touchdown. So I'm definitely on Brady QB sneak for first touchdown. And let me preference this also by saying when I'm looking at these props, I'm not betting top guys. I mean, if I'm looking for props, I'm trying to bet some value here and make some money. So
Agree.
we got Brady at 30-1 here. At
I'm pretty sure. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure he had their first touchdown last season too. Like I'm pretty sure it was like a QB sneak on the 1 yard line, and he scored the first touchdown for them last year. So it's not that crazy overall.
He's a QB sneak connoisseur.
Yeah, I'm not playing him for the first touchdown. I don't mind the Brady anytime touchdown though. I think that was at I think I saw it somewhere at over plus 500. So if you can get that at plus 500, I don't think that's crazy because he is one of the best at that, QB sneak at the 1 yard line, and they do have a very, very, very good offensive line in front of them. So they will be able to punch that in there. But I know there was one, I'm pretty sure there was a first touchdown that you were on that I'm on as well. And
yeah. So I'll tie it together.
Gronk?
Yeah, so it's Gronk, but I got him to score and first touchdown. So those are the $3. So I got AB there at 14-1. Gronk's in at 18-1 on DraftKings. I like most of those. Again, I'm a moderate sized unit better here. My unit's a relatively decent size here, so I'm not putting an arm and a leg on these. So I'm not telling you to put your normal unit size on all these things. So let's caution it with that. But 18-1 for Gronk here on first touchdown. I have him at plus 225 to score at any point. And I'll just tie it all to my last pick here. I love some tight ends. Always love tight ends in the red zones to score touchdowns. So I'm going to bet here Cowboys first touchdown. This is just their first touchdown, not Game's first touchdown. I'm going to go with Blake Jarwin at 12-1. I like that.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all there with the Jarwin thing. So the one that I am bullish on here today, that I am with you on, is the Gronk at plus 1,800 at 18-1. And like Steve said, these are not the things that you make your big bets on, right? Like you throw $50 on Gronk at 18-1 to score a touchdown. If he scores to score first touchdown, he scores the first touchdown, you turn $50 into 900. That's not a bad day. You don't want to go nuts with these things because there is an element of luck to them. And the idea is you want to play them throughout the year, right? You want to keep looking for guys that you think are undervalued. Because again, if I hit Gronk tonight for $100 at 18-1, I could bet a first touchdown on Thursday Night Football for the rest of the season and break even at worst case scenario. If I hit another one at any point in time, you're going to have a profit from betting him there. So Gronk first touchdown, I am bullish on as well at plus 1,800. My favorite prop play, the one that I am the most bullish on for tonight though, Dak Prescott over 12.5 yards rushing, minus 111 right now on BetMGM. So again, I'm not going to talk about the Giant game where he got hurt last year, but you look at the other 4 games that they played. 3 of those 4 games, he went over 12 yards rushing. One, he had 30 or 40 yards. There was one where he barely did it for 18 yards or so. And then even the one game where he didn't go over 12.5 yards rushing, he had 12 yards exactly. So I think this number is way too low. I've actually seen it higher on some other books in the 14, 15, 17 range. We have him projected on FTN daily for, I think, 14. So we're projecting him slightly over this number as well. The most bullish bet I have today on the prop market is Dak Prescott minus 111 BetMGM. What do you think about that
one? I like it, actually. I was staring at it. For me, that's easy. Not terms of it's a guarantee lock, but in terms of if Dak's rushing at any given time, ideally I like to think quarterbacks are running more on third downs. So if he's running to extend the chains, average distance of a first down is 10 yards, obviously. So if he's moving these chains, get past it, you said it's at 11.5. He doesn't have to do much legwork after. So he rushes for a first down, maybe gets something after that. It shouldn't be too hard for him to get over if he can just get that one big chunk play, which I think is more than possible. So if it was anything over that 11.5 or even 12.5,
12.5.
But still a couple yards after the first down line. So for me, I kind of look at those rushing totals in terms of first down. So if he can move the chains one time, we just need one other scramble and it's there. I do like that play. And it's pretty close to even money there at minus 111.
Minus 111. So you're getting a little bit juiced up, but I mean, standard minus 110 is where it's usually at. But here's the other thing too. I mean, I think a lot of people, and you and I included, expect Tampa Bay to win this game, right? So if Tampa Bay is winning or has the lead in this game, Dallas is going to have to throw. And this is the thing. He's not Lamar Jackson, right? They're not going to be running QB sweeps for him and really trying to get him designed rushing plays. What's going to happen, the more they have to pass, he's going to drop back. Tampa Bay is going to get a little pressure here or there, and he's going to run out. He's going to scramble. And like you said, if he does that 3 or 4 times, picks up 2 or 3 yards here, 2 or 3 yards there, if he just has one chunk play, and it doesn't even need to be a big chunk play, like an 8 or 9 yard rush at some point in time, he's going to get over this 12.5 number right there. And like I said, I'm minus 111. I think it's a good number, so I'm kind of bullish on that right there. So there you go. That kind of wraps it up for our Thursday night breakdown. We gave you guys a couple bets. You got some teasers for today. If you're playing in any pick'em contests, you got the pick'em games that we're going to be going with this week. So, you guys have some things to think about there. And then we gave you a couple prop plays for tonight as well. So no matter what level your degenerate gambling is at, you got a little something that you can play, whether it's for tonight, for the weekend, or something to start off on the pick'em tournament like that. So for my man, Tino Rodriguez, our producer extraordinaire here at FTN, this is Benny Ricciardi signing off for Betting with Benny and Tino here at FTN Bets on Bets TV.